Hello, traders. Hello, family. Welcome back. I don't know who is going to say welcome to who, but regardless, I think we need to get back to doing this every day, or at least often enough. Sorry. So what's really happening, and what I really want us to discuss is the fundamentals versus the fundamentals versus kind of the technicals that is currently happening, and I can see 24th. Thank you. I can not spell English. Do apologize for that, but regardless, I said yesterday in chat in Discord, without doxing anyone, is that I wanted to do a New York stream open. Here we are. Good to go. So if you are here for the first time, very much welcome. And if you're not for the first time, well, welcome back anyways. So what I want us to do is kind of to understand what is currently happening, and I've put in some first of all imaginary trades, and kind of where we are going with, or where I'm going with everything is, because I said I wanted to buy dollar pairs. That was on Monday, I think it was, and I said I wanted us to come a bit lower. It wasn't really perfect, it wasn't really great, and what has kind of happened ever since Monday, and Monday's over here is it's Tuesday, is that we have actually come down and we have actually turned around, and I'm asking myself, are we in a situation where we have turned around and we are no longer dollar bullish, so no longer dollar bearish, everything is kind of turning around? And my answer to that is, hold your horses, because what kind of happened yesterday was, this morning was that Trump came out and they said they're going to lower some tariffs on China. China says we're not going to do anything. And it seems to me about 20, 30, 50 minutes ago that that China was going to reduce some, but it seems to me that it was the US that was going to reduce some outer parts. We have all seen Tesla's slump, where they missed the, what do you call in English, the earnings by missed earnings, but reduction 70% in earnings, an absolute landslide. And more than anything else, we have car manufacturer importing things from China. They are needed, so it's not something that they can just take away and we can just move on nicely going forward with manufacturing in the United States. So there is that, and I would argue that the stock market, because of that, seemingly is gaining more positivity. But remind yourself, and as far as I remember, as far as I understand everything here, the reason why we're not, taking off and go woohoo, is that there still is tariffs. This is just a short-term but it's just a fraction of the entire tariff. So if all tariffs was removed, this one would take off. So there is a slight optimism today, and by far we are higher than last week. We are higher than last week. So where are we currently going? And it's very easy for me to say, yeah, let's go higher. But it is not straightforward. And what the signal is, maybe the market, as far as I see, is looking for, is the removal of sanctions. One other things that can happen at the moment, and we would see later, is I discussed this a couple of days ago. I don't know who I said it to or in what forum, but I can at least say it here as well, is that what is currently happening is that there's an exodus There's an exodus of S&P 500, of Nasdaq, and we are seeing currently a much better performance from the DAX and from the FTSE. And you're wondering to yourself, why is the FTSE and why is the DAX doing better than the S&P 500? I think it's very straightforward. People and traders and hedge funds are losing confidence in the United States stock market that they are going to deliver the same results they have previously given. Remember, if you have a business that is based upon Chinese imports to America, Walmart, you more than likely are going to say, okay, we're not going to move any of our products from China to America because it doesn't make financial sense. There was one business yesterday, soybean, handling centers have more than anything else sacked everyone or have really reduced the operations because most of the kinds are in China, and since they have banned the imports of soybean or reduced it with tariffs, they're not getting sold any of their soybeans to China. So this is real life. People are being let go, people are being sacked, people are being say, hey, we don't have a business anymore. And with that being only a US-based company issue, you would then take your money from United States to Europe, to UK, to wherever, and invest in those stock markets in itself because those stock markets because they are not affected by this tariff. So that's why we have seen, in my opinion, the S&P 500 doing less. That's why we have seen dollar doing less. We are now seeing, I would argue, a reversal in the dollar. We are seeing some strengthening coming in. Seasonality wise, we're not supposed to do that until May, but hey, we are end of April, it's totally possible. So in my world, that is 100% possible that we are going to go higher on the dollar, and the whatever weakness that we had short term wise is kind of gone. And when you look at, for example, the euro, I earlier said this week, I said, if we go below about 113.50, I would say, I don't like that. Maybe that is going to be my line in the sand, and if we fall further, we are turning bearish. And by all means, that is definitely the possibility. Now, what would make euro weakness happening? Because we have, as we all remember, an 800 billion euro investment that is coming in. We have, what is the CPI, 2.1 or something in that direction? Can't remember exactly, but somewhere in that direction. It's kind of low. And we saw the ECB reducing interest rates. Isn't all this, and then we got the German IFO earlier today, and they were quite positive. So why wouldn't everything just go higher and everything is great? I was referring to this one where the German IFO expectations was 87, forecasted 85, and that is great. Why wouldn't Euro be bullish? Because in a lot of this mix is dollar, and if dollar is strengthening for whatever reason, Euro would subsequently weaken. So you would say this is a dollar, this should be euro move. It is 100% or 85% a dollar move. So whatever is happening here is kind of like what dollar does anyways. It doesn't really matter technically, fundamentally, what the euro does to a great extent over the long run. Hello Jack, hello Harold. So kind of what I'm looking into today is some New Zealand bullishness, and the only problem, and this is kind of what I'm describing to many students, to many traders, is you have this move, right? Great, fantastic, that is great direction, everything is going fantastic. But where we are now, we have reduced our aggressive higher, we have come down ever so slightly lower, about 90 pips or so lower, and you would say that should be a great place to start, continue buying in a bullish trend wise, right? Not entirely, and I really don't like this slowdown of the trend. I really want this to continue like that kind of forever. So with me looking for a buy here this morning, and I thought to myself, I might be wrong for that, but I thought at Euro Open, I don't like it. I don't like this slowdown. I really wanted that to create a new higher high, to create a new higher low. That is great, but then we need to continue, and going back to the same level at about 59.40 or 30 is not ideal and not how I want. And what I tend to then see, and what tends to happen, is that we break lower, and that in all essence and in all fairness is kind of what New Zealand fundamentalists would dream about: a strengthening dollar, a weakness in the New Zealand, just going back to how things is happening fundamentally. Take away all the Trump issues and whatever, because that's what's currently making this one going higher. That's how you would say, okay, New Zealand, going back to its fundamentals, going back to how we're supposed to trade it, we would continue lower. The only problem with that is kind of what we have to deal with every day regardless, is the volatility and the sudden changes and the influence of the Trump administration. So for tomorrow, I want to see, for me to continue looking for a buy, I need a higher high. And you would argue with me and say, "Hi, Ivan, but isn't this like a weekly central? We didn't really hit the target. We really didn't hit the central, and therefore we are kind of in the middle of something. And for me to continue looking, I want a higher high and higher low, and that's kind of where my trade setup is currently on New Zealand. Same thing for Aussie. Aussie is showing me weakness or lack of bullish strength. We're going into like a some kind of range here, and I don't like ranges. I've never liked ranges, and the only way to continue forward is to continue or to break, right? But in that sense, if I say I want to go higher, I think this should go higher, or I think this should go lower. No matter the direction you put on this, the only thing that's going to happen to it is that you are going to feel like... No, sorry. The only thing that's going to happen is that it's going to fail. Because, what do you mean? This was also a range that we had a couple of weeks ago. And what happened? We have a break lower. You're like, woohoo, great, fantastic, going lower. Oh, no. We went to the upside. Oh, no, we're going lower. I'm not saying this is going to happen this time around, but ranges, whatever you believe is going to be the direction going out of a range, is always going to be the opposite. So if you can take a profit, take a trade profit after the breakout and then see if it continues, and that would probably be my approach to it. No financial advice whatsoever intended. And more than anything else, this is an interesting conversation. We have dollar Swiss, which is showing strength. We have, by all imaginary kind of measurements, we have broken lower and we have broken higher. where are we going to go? Is this a new trend? And by all means and services, it probably can be. And I'm not gonna go away from the idea that it's a possibility that we are going to go in line with seasonality, and we're going into May with strong seasonality. The only problem that I have with this theory is risk. The risk sentiment makes both strong, supposedly. So what can happen, I'm going to say, okay, if we start trending tomorrow, we're going to have a higher high, higher low. And right now, the risk is about 200 pips that you need to have for a stop loss, at least for me. If we can drop lower, that would be great. For a dollar bullish, Swiss bearish direction. But again, I am bearish on the dollar until further notice. So for me, this isn't a tradable dollar bearish move. I need, for that matter, I need a lower low, lower high, and then continuation. My only problem with this is the Swissy, because it's supposed to be weak, and I'm hoping for weakness, and that's supposed to be weak. That is not in favor for me at the moment. That was favorable like a good, some weeks ago at least. But okay, cool. Dollar CAD, I don't have anything other than I agree with the range. What do I mean by that? I mean that in this, it's not a setup. This isn't anyone to care about. And if you ask me, Ivan, what is currently happening here, I can't tell you. And what I assume is happening in the market space is that we don't know the impact of tariffs, or if the economy, or whatever, that we are generally not putting any bets on a new continued trend, and therefore, in the essence of range bounds and whatever, this is all fun and games for retail traders. This is all fun and games for retail traders to look at themselves and be like, woohoo, let's get a trade in. And if I look at like if I look at the outlook, the sentiment currently, and I see that there is retail but about 50-50. Everyone is averagely losing, and popularity is gaining. 10% of traders that my FX book is pulling is trading it. It's too high for me. This should be 0 or 1 or 2. And the reason for it is very basic. When you're trading, and when I'm looking for a trade, and what I really want you to look for is, where is your competitive advantage? Where do you have an enormous amount of chance versus the risk? Said very differently, in these situations, do you normally make money? And I am a hater of ranges and whatever, and I know that, but I've tried to do this for 10 years now, probably 11, probably 12 soon. It doesn't really matter how many times I try to trade dollar CAD in a range. It doesn't matter what I do. I always end up losing. So that's just my results, and I really hope that you can come up with some better results than I have found, because that would be great for everyone. Because why wouldn't that be just, a fun little thing that you can prove me better? Great. I will be very happy about that. And yeah. Do you guys have any, what do you call it in English? Any assets you want me to cover? Bitcoin, Goldie. I will continue going into what I'm looking for, regardless, kind of. But if you have an input, that would be appreciated. And another thing that kind of annoys me is this Euro New Zealand, and I max. traded this, and it really made me have a lot of FOMO. And then I saw, okay, how much do I need? 200 pips or so to trade stop losses. And I'm like, nope, that's not gonna happen. But he has been in this trade ever since the peak, and he says he's still in it, so all glory to him for those 900 pips. And I arguably think that we're still going to continue lower on this until we change trend. Now, that in itself sounds a bit ridiculous, right? It might be, and I'm probably am, but it doesn't really matter to me how much I push a certain narrative if everything in my trading says this trend is going to continue until it ends. Because in the current market situation is all about technical. It doesn't really matter what your theory is if it doesn't align with technicals. Why do I say that? Because fundamentals at the moment is on the sideline. New Zealand dollar is strong. It's supposed to be weak. The Australian dollar is strong. It's supposed to be weak. The Japanese yen is strong. It's supposed to be strong. I can get that one. Gold is going higher. Bitcoin is going higher, or at least was going higher when I checked on Monday. But we're in a risk-on situation, but it's a lot of risk out there. Why is this one climbing so much higher? And if you now try to start selling this, you'd be like, whoa, I'm losing left, right, and center. And if you bought gold about somewhere between 3,500 and 3,270, you'll be like in losses. Okay, what is currently happening is that the current move and the current reasons for why we're going in a certain direction and not the other one is arguably a reaction to the tariffs and the risk and the changes that does to businesses, which in the end that's kind of what we're trading anyways. So it's just about adapting to where we're going. Don't force anything. Where Aussie New Zealand, you said? Did you send me Discord? Where in Discord? Discordy. Okay, there we are. Okay. Got long Aussie New Zealand. Today looking for mean reversion. Thesis, all bad news is priced into Aussie. New Zealand has had a 500 pip move. And okay. Let me see. So you want to look for a buy, as far as I remember. Okay. Okay. Completely what I just said. Just against what I just said. And I'm gonna practice my I understand that is your thesis. I really appreciate that that's what you are thinking. To be honest with you, I would arguably say I will be cautious about such a direction personally, and only do it whenever it turns bullish. And it's a nice idea. It's a great idea, given that it actually turns around. And until then, great. And I know that you are cautious about it. So just for any traders, when you have a theory that goes against the trend, for that matter, no matter what, is always to have your confirmations that you actually are, the market actually agrees with you and not just continues lower in the trend that you're already in. And to go to do counter trend trading is perfectly normal, perfectly okay, but you need to have a bit more security and a bit more security measures to make sure that you don't always buy downtrends. But yeah, great idea. I think that it's I'm open that can definitely work, even though it's just against everything I just said. But that doesn't mean that I'm always going to be right. There is always being, so there's always there's always an opposite trade to you, and you have to be humble enough to see that. And the reason why I say that is because whatever I am trading right now and whatever my theory is all short-term impulses from Trump. And I don't know how far and how long those influences are going to happen and how long that is going to be. And for that matter, it can be now that this is the end of this trend and now we turn higher. It looks like dollar is, or at least was, thinking about, turning higher and reversing. Great. Then that is your theory. That is your direction. And as I said earlier, I'm looking for New Zealand dollar to continue, though that is ridiculous in a monthly perspective. And you would argue that, okay, but what about May, and where we have, this to happen, and we should go lower on New Zealand in May? Yes. But that is also not today. And if that last move is about, give it 100 to 200 pips left to do the move, I'm not going to let it pass. So there is that. Yeah. So for the yen pairs, I saw one student having loss on it. I mean, okay. It's okay. Like, it was euro yen short, I believe. Euro yen pairs, I would argue, hasn't done what you were expected to do. It hasn't performed as you would expect it to do, meaning we are in fundamentally yen strong, but risk-wise weak. So you have two very strong things against each other, and that's kind of what has happened, is that we have gone into a range. So I would say I was thinking about Aussie yen going higher on Monday, and now I'm saying I'll pause. I'll see what happens going forward. I'm not forcing anything, and the reason why is probably that some news has come in. Fed could move in June if data is clear. Okay. Fed needs to be patient. Too soon to consider a move in May. So that's probably what people are pricing in now, that we're not going to do any moves in May. Seniors aid cross Trump admin holding high level meeting over China. Curbs are rare earth critical to huge range of US activity. Okay, that is important for America to get a deal on rare earths minerals, but it's seemingly not happening. So at least they're trying. And then jobless claims comes in at 22. X expected 22.222. Previous 215. Yeah, 100% within normal. Nothing crazy there. And I think that's another kind of stone in craziness, right? This should be bullish for S&P 500, by the way. Also the market, jobless claims is not being crazy. If I try to find jobless claims and yeah, I can probably go to heat maps. So if I look at jobless claims, they are very much okay. They are not, crazy, and they're still bullish for the stock market, meaning that whatever we are priced in as the market is going to crash, we're going into recession, oh my, has reversed or is currently not being presented itself in the market space as what we have previously thought. So that's kind of what I've said previously, is This is an emotion. We are priced in an emotion, and then we have to see actual proof. Is our emotion, our theory, actually true? And it hasn't happened. It didn't go the way that people thought. So it's it practically it is what it is. So I believe that should be Nasdaq, S&P, US 30 bullish. I don't know how much it's going to be bullish, but it's not, shouldn't in itself send it lower. But we all know that Trump can say, since he has woken up now, he can start saying things that is it's going to be fun. So that's all I'm saying. And also remember that at IMF on Monday or so, Monday, they reduced the growth outlook for United States to 1.8 from 2.7. So that is, of course, very important. That also sent the oil price ever so slightly lower. And that was it yesterday? I didn't think it was yesterday, but okay, cool. Secondly, probably yesterday we saw rumors about OPEC or Saudi saying that we're going to increase production. They're going to increase production again. That isn't great news, but also we are at $63 per barrel. Yeah, okay. Interesting, I would argue. I would argue that I would think that OPEC wanted this price to go higher, meaning less production, but and the production was supposed to be increased for next, was supposed to be voted for in the next meeting. Sorry. So where I'm currently standing is dollar pairs going higher. I don't know if it does, but we'll see. I need a new lower low, lower high situation on dollar Swiss. New Zealand Swiss is currently going higher. It has a very great negative seasonality coming in. I don't want to call that yet, because it's completely against what the current risk on move is happening. So if we have a change in tariffs towards lifting, this should go higher. If we have, of course, a change towards tightening again, this is going to go lower again. So, but more than anything else, more than likely, what's currently going to happen going forward is higher. And I think that what has happened in the White House has been enough screaming and to realize that whatever tariffs has happened has not been good, aka 70% down on Tesla, and people more than anything else now seeming to me at least looking to exit and get out, even though that is currently at $250 per share, was at 470, has lost about 47% of the value, and people seems to me now be more than likely to happy to get out of this. So in that context, we'll see how things is currently happening. And my idea on gold is we should be buying, but the problem is that we hit 3,500. That has seen a massive reaction and direction lower. So a reversal at 3,000, whatever this price is, 3,700 to 3,270 is okay. Use your technicals and see, does it go higher again? Don't invest your pension in it. just see as a theory. But right now, seeing this reaction, we are more than likely to continue lower. So if that happens, don't be surprised, meaning reduce your risk and don't marry the trade. That's all I have to say there. So yeah, dollar pairs higher, yen pairs, it's a range, it's not really moving, both are strong at the same time. Oil to, in my opinion, continue lower, with OPEC coming in, though we have a pullback now. We will see if that is just for coming in for resistance and then falling off again, though that was the news, and the news seems to be priced in, so it's just more of the going forward news that I will drive this one now. And as in New Zealand Swissy, Pound Swissy, Aussie Swissy should continue higher if Trump continues to give us news that would reduce the level of tariffs going forward. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, I guess. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys trade well, and